Hello everyone and welcome back again for another build. What we're going to be looking at today is kind of an obscure case. It's called the 678 case. It's named that because of the dimensions of it. It is about 6.5 inches tall. It is about 8.5 inches across, and from front to back there you can see it's about 7.5 inches deep. Total of 6.78 liters. Now, hold on here a second. Okay, so going to the screen here, we're at the website where these get sold. This is actually 678cases.com. 678cases.com. And you just go into the store there, click that, and that will take you to the main screen where you can purchase one. He's selling them for $99, as you can see here. Let's click this here and take a look at some of these images of this thing. Let's go back to this first one. First, you can see it comes in 3 different colors. He's got the green and black, the all white, and then the all black. You can see it's got kind of a honeycomb side there, and the round's got this kind of design right here, this big circle in the middle. It will fit a ITX sized graphics card in here. You want to go a little bit shorter than 7 inches. There's plenty of them out there on the market that you can get. It fits a SFX type power supply right here. Oops, back to this picture. As you can see, it's only a little bit bigger than an Xbox controller. This is a pretty small case, 6.78 liters. That's pretty tiny, so there's a lot to do to stuff some stuff in here. Let's see if we can find another picture here. I know he's got one. We'll sort through these real quick. Here we go. Here's an image of a motherboard placed in there, and you can see the cooler height in here. Now, he says it's 60 inches. But it actually is a little bit bigger than that, and there's a little bit more of a gap in there, and I'll show you that here in just a second. But, yeah, there's another angle of that. Top angle with the graphics card in here, a little GeForce GTX 1060 going on in there. Here's the power supply mounted in here. You can see the power supply is mounted with the fan up on top there to draw in some fresh air. There's what it looks like with everything put together inside there. The wires all stuffed back. So he also sells these over on eBay as well. You just look for the 678 custom micro Mini-ITX computer case. That's all you got to search for. You'll find it. He sells them for $109 there. So I honestly, if I was going to get one of these, I'd maybe go to his website instead, save you some money. I'm sure the reason that it's more expensive here than it is on his website is because of those damn PayPal fees, which are kind of a rip sometime. Now, when I heard about this, I actually heard about it on the local marketplace on Facebook. John, who makes these, he actually lives about 4 or 5 blocks down from me here in Spencer. So that's where these cases are coming from, actually, is Spencer, Iowa. So they're made in America. So if you're wondering about this $100 price tag, and you think that looks kind of steep, well, we'll get into that here in a second. But anyways, I also saw this on the SFFPC subreddit on Reddit, and a guy had done a build in one, and he had said that he'd used a IS-60 with NFA 1220 by 25. Now, if you're trying to decipher that, the IS-60 would be the CPU cooler. The NFA 1225 would be the Noctua NFA. And he's rocking an RTX 2070 on a X570 board with 32 gigs of memory. Here's an image of that. Let's go full screen on that so you can see that. Here's how his thing is all fitting in there. As you can see, everything is all crammed up in there. Now, if you wanted to, you could use other coolers like the NHL9A AM4 edition or the L9i, which is also a Noctua, to save a little space. You may be able to get some RGB memory in there if you use that cooler. But myself personally, I like the IS60 here that he's got going on there. It's a 120 millimeter fan. And so your options are kind of expanded then if you go with that. So that's actually what I decided to go with in mine. And we'll stop here and go to the other live video. But anyways, that's what I went with in mine. And I also made a couple changes to mine. As you can see, I've got some filters going on there. And there's a filter on that side. So there's like 3 filters on here. And I'll leave a link to the filters in the description of this video, and I'll get back to that on the screen here in a minute so you can see those. But I wanted to cover, since this is an open air design, I kind of wanted to cover everything up so that not as much dust got in there. That was kind of a concern for me. And these filters were just right. You can get these cut into any size you want. They're magnetic on the back here, and it sticks right in here. Now, if we can see in here a little bit, you'll notice I got another little fan in there. This is a 65 millimeter Noctua fan in there, and I don't know if you can kind of see it where that orange is right there. That's the CPU fan that I'm using, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But first, let's talk about this case. A little bit of criticism here. Heat was a concern for me, and that's kind of where my focus was. I actually have had this case for quite a while. I just been experimenting with it to see what kind of cooling I can do and what kind of decibel levels I can get out of it that was at least acceptable to me, because I don't like fans that are up there spinning really loud and making a hell of a noise and what have you. But like I said, I got this extra fan here. I don't need to have this, and this actually kind of contributes to the noise level in this a bit. But I kind of weighed the difference. Like, well, do I want it quiet or do I want it cool? And for me, I wanted it cool. But this is where I'm going to criticize it first, is this, that I'm only able to get the 65 millimeter. I can get I had what is like a 70 millimeter that I had stuck in here as well. Let's see. Here that one is an old like AMD cooler that I snagged off of a old CPU cooler somewhere, and that fit in there. But I thought that one was kind of loud. Ideally, what I think John should do with this case to improve this is see where this power supply is mounted right here. Now, you notice I've got mine flipped the other way where the fan's on the bottom and it's actually sucking air out. That's because I'm running this actually in a pull configuration. You can see my fans. I don't know if we can see them. Are running in a pull configuration off of that CPU heat sink, and this fan is actually pushing cool air in. I don't know if we can get that in the picture there, but it's actually pushing cool air in under the bottom of the heat sink, where the top fan is drawing up that cool air and helping to, excuse me, I got the hiccups, starting to cool the, oh man, I can't talk with the damn hiccups, where it draws up cool air and also the hot air that's in the heat pipes and then the radiator in there, and cools it off and exhausts it up out here and also through the back here into this. And that, for me anyways, give me probably the best temps when combined with the fan. But like I said, it is kind of loud. Now, my criticism here is I think what he should have actually have done with this is to take this power supply where it mounts and go over, maybe another ½ centimeter with it to the right, from like here to like right about here. Just enough to leave enough gap in here, right here, to put a bigger fan in, something like this. This is a 92 millimeter fan, and if I could like mount it like right there in the center, like that would have been awesome. I could go either way. I could have it, bringing air in or exhausting air out. Either way, it would definitely help with the airflow of this case. And a 92 millimeter fan is pretty quiet, especially if you use something like this. This fan actually came off of an NHL 9A. This is, of course, the Noctua NF-A9 by 14. So yeah, usually what I do with the NHL-9A is I'll pull off that 15 millimeter fan and I'll replace it with like a 92 millimeter by 25 millimeter fan for a little more volume. And that's probably what I more than likely would have done under normal circumstances in a case like this. Would be the NHL-9A and with a bigger fan, because there is a gap in there that you can fit this. I mean, like I said, you can see that 120 millimeter by 25 fan. And let's see if I can get the, I guess you can't really see the gap too well, between the power supply and the fan. Yeah, I can't really see that gap too well. It's there, though. It's just there it is, kind of right in the center of the screen, that little mini gap. I'm not sure how this is affecting it. Exhausting that air, you kind of need a little bigger gap in there than that, and you don't have that. So, well, that's, and I guess I could run like a low profile 15 millimeter by 120 millimeter fan in there, but that tends to be a little bit loud. I was thinking of ordering like a NOC 201 in the 15 millimeter by 120 and see if that quiets things down. What I'm using in here right now is a Cougar Vortex fan, which is rated at like, I think 60 some CFM with like only 17 decibels. That's actually why I chose the Cougar fan, is because of the decibel rating along with the CFM that it pumps out. Kind of a nice balance there. It's a nice quiet fan otherwise, because I used to run them in my mining rigs to keep things quiet while it was cooling off, and I thought it was a pretty good fan. I thought it was perfect for this setup, considering I'm trying to keep things cool and quiet. So what we're going to do here is let's turn this around, and I'm going to take, oops, hold on, trying to do this one-handed. This thing, we'll put the cap back on it. All this is a little decibel meter. Let's turn this on here so you can see, and I'm going to shut my mouth for a second so we can get a quiet range of what this room sounds like. Okay, 39.8. So let's go ahead and switch this to the HDMI input. And let's power this thing up, and let's see how loud this thing is with what I've got in it. So there it is booted up. You can see I got some RGB strips in there too. I got to make this thing look cool somehow, right? But let's be quiet here. And it's idling right now, so let's see how quiet this is. Not too bad. Now, next test that I'm going to show you is we're going to open up Furmark here, and I'm also going to open up the hardware monitoring program. And let me get rid of that and that. And what we're going to do now is we're going to stress the CPU a little bit using the CPU burner, and we're going to see what our temperatures get up to. You can see right now we're idling right after a boot up at about 33 degrees Celsius. Kind of jumps up there a little bit. That's not too bad. 1,000 RPMs on the cooler. And let's get rid of this part. All right, 0 utilization. Let's crank this up and see what it does. And we'll start this, and we're going to let this CPU ramp up to 100%. There it is. Our fan's going to ramp up to its max. Looks like it's about 1683 on the RPM. And let's shut my mouth here and let's see how loud this is. So 52.4. And like I said, the biggest contributor of that is really this little guy right here. If this wasn't in here, this would actually be a lot quieter. Like I said, though, I kind of sacrificed volume for cooling. And as you can see right here, as this thing's cranking it out, our processor's at 87, 88. So yeah, that's the operating specs on this say 95 degrees, I believe it is where it maxes out before it starts throttling on you. This here is probably going to contribute to some of the heat too, actually putting these back on here, but I want to do this anyway so that we can get a good indication of what kind of heat we're pumping out here with the filters on it as well. You can see we're at 89 right there. Okay, yeah, that's still not too bad considering how small this thing is and how much stuff is crammed in there. Let's stop this real quick here. So yeah, getting back to the price on the case, you know, it's $100, but the thing about the case is it's just solid as a rock. I mean, you could almost, I'm not going to do it because I'm probably wrong here, but you could almost swear that if you shot this with like a 22 shell or something, that it would just ricochet off there. It's just a really, really thick material. One of the cool things that I like about this is, you see these screws right here? Well, first of all, let's look at the design on them. See how they're kind of twisted on there? Back that up a little bit. Kind of a twist design, the way you had this pressed out, stamped out, whatever, and then there's like a little twist in here to get the screws in. Now, I like these screws on here because it allows you to actually work on this case different sections at a time. Like, let's say you only want to do something in the front here. You could take your screwdriver and take those 4 screws out and just pop off that front and work on it, or else pop it back on. Say you're going to work on the side here, you could, you know, pop that out. Yeah, but like I said, I mean, what I'd like to see is a little bit bigger gap in here. Move this power supply thing over just a little bit so that you could get a fan in here, and that would be nice. That would really, really help with the cooling. I'd like to see like maybe like a 92 millimeter, you know, holes there for a 92 millimeter fan, maybe even a 120, maybe even an 80, whatever. But also on this side as well, on the side with the GPU, I'd like to maybe see some right here too. Like maybe you're like up in here and here, maybe to get like a 120 millimeter fan. That way, I mean, that's really that would be really convenient, because like imagine if you want to use this case as just a little gaming box, and you don't want to use like the high end RTX 2060 like I have in here. You could definitely go with like an integrated thing with like maybe like a 2200G or a 3400G or even an Athlon 3000 would be nice in here. And then run it without a video card. And in place of where that video card would go, maybe stick a 120 millimeter fan to blow some fresh air in here. I mean, you wouldn't have to use the fancy cooler like I'm using in there. You could definitely use like the stock Wraith Stealth cooler in here, and that would be just fine. It fits in here just fine. But yeah, I mean, this is a neat little box. I mean, I'm probably gonna sell this. So I mean, if any of you guys are interested in it, hell, just contact me. I'll sell it to you. I mean, if you want to know the price, just go on the builds.gg website. There's a price breakdown there as well as a parts breakdown. Like I said, I'm going to leave a parts breakdown in the description of this video too. This one here, probably like in the $1,200 range. I think the builds.gg links show the total price around the $1,300, but that's factoring in a higher price for the video card than what I paid. I only paid $299 for this RTX. Crazy that they make an RTX 2060 that would fit into something this small, but they actually make an RTX 2070 too if you want to spend the money for it. Yeah, but when you're talking about, the $100 price tag on this, like I said, you get that solid build, you get that ability to, it's basically almost kind of modular. Another thing, is it's made in America. Like I said, here in Spencer, Iowa, actually. So that always kind of gives you a premium. Anything that's made in America. This isn't stamped out Chinese cheap junk, where it's got thin material and what have you. So, there is that kind of cost. I think it's pretty reasonable considering when John sells them on his website, he sells them through PayPal. So he's got to pay PayPal fees for that shit. Cost of manufacturing these things. I think he's put a lot of thought into it, and I think it's a great little concept case. I think there's definitely some improvements that can be made here. Like I said, the filtering here is one of the improvements that I made. Let's go back to the screen here for a second. Okay, the filters that I put on here come from a website called dempseyfilter.com. Right here. And I used two different sizes. On the top, I used a 200 millimeter by 170 millimeter. And on the sides, I used a 142 millimeter by 142 millimeter. Now, the actual dimensions on those side ones is more like 135 by 165. It's like 135 here. And what I'm going by is the bottom of the screw to the bottom of the screw. So about 135 there. And from the bottom of this screw to the bottom of this screw is 165. If you want to do an exact filter on there. I didn't feel like writing them and waiting a little bit longer for that. But they do absolutely make those in custom sizes for whatever you want. I just happened to see these was there in stock, and I thought, that'll work, so I went with that instead. They're not too bad at price. $887 for that one. It's only $1029 for the top one. So you're talking like another, $25 or so to filter it out. Now, the nice thing about the filters is they actually have them in different colors. Like right here, frame color, you got black, white, blue, red. Of course, I went with the red right here. And you can see all the other colors that they have listed there. And then the mesh part itself, they have it in two colors. They got black mesh and white mesh. So that's pretty nice. Custom filters like this on that case is a pretty decent thing to have here. I love it. I actually love it a lot. I think that not only does it help with the filtering, I think it kind of gives the case its own little dimension here. Yeah, I think that's going to be about it for this one. If you want to take a look at this case, go to the builds.gg website as well. You'll see it listed there. The link will be at the bottom of this video here, but I'll have a video there at the builds.gg site. It'll actually be this one that you're watching here. And if you go right here, click the little happy face icon right there, that'll actually go into full screen mode, and then you could use the little arrows here, and you can scroll through some of the images that I posted of this. And like I said, if you scroll down here, you'll actually see the all the parts that I used in this case. And like I said, it's showing it's like a 1300, but that's not right. The Mini-ITX graphics card here, this is just the Amazon link. I actually got mine off of Newegg for a lot cheaper. This here showing this is $419. Yeah, bullshit. I paid $299 for mine. So you want to look around. go to Newegg. Newegg's got this. It's the GV, what is it, N2060 IXOC-6GD video card is the one that I'm using. Like I said, it's a little mini one. Look how small that little sumbitch is. But that's what you're going to use inside something like this. Like I said, you could also get like an RTX 2070 in here. I think there's a couple Radeon cards that'll fit in here too. I'm not really into the AMD stuff when it comes to the graphics anyways. I just like the CPUs. But yeah, there's definitely some stuff you could do to stuff in here, and maybe a little more experimenting than what I've done. Here's the fans that I use. The Cougar Vortex PWM CFVH 12 HPs, 1490. Give you a better look at that fan. Really quiet. I think they're better than the Noctua, and Noctua is usually my go-to brand. But that's going to be it for this one, guys. Check out that 678 case. Do John a favor and buy one and build one in there. It's a pretty neat little case to be playing around with, and I'm kind of glad that he lives in town here. So, like, if I ever want to build another one, I just go knock on his door and say, "Hey, John, you got one of them cases?" But I'll talk to you guys later. I'll see you in the next video, and bye.